disagree with any part of it? Yes?
I'll just say Al-Qaeda.
Okay. What's the significance of Al-Qaeda?
Well, because he's everything that they said, and they're you know, they just don't care about people's lives.
Civilians.
Civilians' lives.
Okay. What if, you know, they're attacking Army folks or NATO folks? Say in Afghanistan, the Taliban plant some IEDs and they're attacking, you know, military personnel. Are they still terrorists?
But they are. But they are. That's what they do too. They target them as well.
It has to do with making a scene and pretty much being publicized on television, and you know, getting a greater audience than what they would have in their country or otherwise.
Okay, so an international PR campaign is important. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it has to do with the fact that I want to mesmerize an audience and you know let them know that we exist. More so.
So, folks, why do you think that's important that terrorists want the rest of the world to know that they exist? Why is that important to them? Yes?
The fact that they strike fear into people gives them the power, as part of their power.
Oh, okay. So they want power. All right. Well, what kind of power? What is President Obama has power. Do they want that sort of power? What do they want to do with this power?
They want us out.
They want to?
They want us out. As long as the United States has nothing to do with it, they're okay.
Ah, okay. So it's really aimed at sort of getting the United States out. What about this guy in Norway that killed off 87 kids, including adults, in Norway back in June of this year? What about him? Was he a terrorist? He was Norwegian, and he was attacking other Norwegians.
Yeah.
He's a domestic terrorist.
Oh, he's a domestic terrorist. Okay, so that's different from being a global terrorist. Okay. So you can have both. You can have domestic terrorists and global terrorists. Do we have other global? Do we have other domestic terrorists in the United States? Can anyone think of anyone?
Yeah, my man.
KKK and neo-Nazis, groups like that are considered domestic terrorism.
Okay. So this is great. What you've done essentially is that you identify the elements of both domestic as well as global terrorists. Their aim is power. They do it through violent means. They don't care whether they're attacking civilians or military personnel. And their aim is to terrify. And their aim is to terrify because they want us out, the United States out, or other Western institutions, other Western folks. Okay. All right. Very good. Well, in terms of the tactics that they use, what do terrorists use in terms of expressing their power, in terms of expressing their terrorists? How do they go about terrorizing folks?
Bombs, execution.
Okay, how about you?
Yeah, I think they bomb, they even bomb themselves, like they don't care, they won't think they put it across.
Suicide bombing, right? Let's hear from someone else back here. What kind of terrorist tactics do you think they use? Any ideas? Bombs, suicide bombings, what else? Kill children. Hijacking.
Trains, planes, buses.
Threats as well.
Threats, okay. So these are what we call sort of terrorist tactics. They're not considered warfare in the traditional sense, in the sense of, you have two armies fighting each other on a battlefield. That's considered conventional warfare. This is considered unconventional warfare. And it could be all the things that you mentioned, but it could also be cyber warfare. Does anyone know what cyber attacks are?
Computer. Crashing into the market.
Technology. Okay. It could be other kinds of warfare, like chemical or biological warfare. Anthrax, exactly. Okay, okay. All right, so these are some ways that terrorists use, non-traditional ways, or sometimes the word asymmetry is used, asymmetric ways of sort of evening out the scale. They don't have armies that they can deploy against, the armies of the United States or NATO countries, but they use these, terrorist tactics, as we've all discussed and we've identified, in terms of getting their point across, terrorizing people, bombing, bombings in the UK and London in 2004. They bombed the metros, they bombed buses. It was quite an unusual experience. I was actually in London in 2004, and I had just left. I had just left on July 4th, actually, and I think these attacks took place on July 7. So 3 days after I came back to the States, they bombed. So it can happen to anyone, anywhere. It could have been me. It could have been you. And essentially, one other point that was brought out was that terrorism is a means to an end. They're trying to express power, and they're trying to sort of gain political power. Now, does anyone have any idea what I mean by that? What do I mean by gaining political power?
They want to overthrow their government on the dollar.
They want to change the way things, like revolutionary type things. They want to change the way that business is done and political. They want to go from one form of politics to another form of governance.
Okay, they want to change. It's called regime change. They want to change the form of government, the nature of governance. Now, why would they want to do that? Why are they interested in doing that?
Some of them don't like that their politicians receive aid, allow other countries to do basically what we want in their countries. And they just don't agree with their politicians, so they feel that their beliefs and the way they believe it should be ran, that's why they attack.
Okay, well, why not just run for office? Why not have elections? Why not, vote these folks out and vote themselves in?
I want Bin Laden as the president.
Okay, what do you think about that?
I guess in some countries, and especially dictatorships, they're not allowed. Their family and their sons and stuff are bred to become the next leaders of the country. So you can't really run for office in a dictatorship.
Okay. So dictatorships are almost like monarchies, right? It's almost like a kingship. It's an inherited mantle of political power. You can't really run for office, and other folks are left out. Holly, do you have a comment?
No, and some countries aren't, they don't have the laws that we have, civil laws. We vote in, President Obama, they do things the way they want to do things in some countries. Some countries don't have rights.
Okay. So is that a problem that these countries don't have voting rights, they don't have electoral rules and regulations?
Yes.
Is that a problem? What do you think? Is that a problem? It's not a problem?
No, I didn't have an answer for your question.
Okay, how
It's a
about?
problem. Somalia is a perfect example. If a country can destroy itself and allows all terrorist groups, I could kill 1,000 people in Washington, D.C. right now, become the highest drug lord, and just go to Somalia and be safe. I guess that's my safe haven. Have me a gang, you come get me, I'm going to kill you. There's no justice for me, or no justice for the people in the United States, no justice for the people of Somalia.
Well, that's a very, very interesting point. That's a very interesting point, because when you have a state like Somalia, and by the way, Somalia has not had a government in 19, 20 years.
Wow.
The president.
Yeah. They have a president, but they sort of dissolved into 3 or 4 different territories, Puntland, Somaliland. And basically what happened is that in the mid-90s, with the collapse of the government, they didn't have an effective federal government, and they had these small, states, mini-states that sort of evolved, but they themselves are not very well governed. So you don't have basic human services. I don't really think they have an electric grid. I saw a film where, it dealt with Somali pirates essentially, but they were offloading goods from a ship. And what really shocked me, and really I was shocked, I had no knowledge of this prior to seeing this short documentary, they didn't have a port. So what they were doing, they were taking, the ship was, docked close by, but they would take rowboats and offload the goods onto the shore. Can you imagine that? I mean, when you think of the Port Authority in New York, New Jersey, my God, it's huge. When you think of the ports in San Francisco, Annapolis, I mean, nobody's going out to ships and taking rowboats and offloading the goods off the ship. We all have ports, but they don't have basic human services like ports, seaports, airports, electricity. So you have a complete collapse of the government, and as you point out, this provides a safe haven for all kinds of illegal activities. Not just terrorism, but what other kind of illegal activities?
Drugs.
What else?
Guns.
Guns. What else?
Violence, lots of violence.
What is it? Violence, okay.
Violence.
What other illegal activities go on?
Prostitution.
Prostitution. Human trafficking.
Human
Human trafficking. So people basically, you gotta eat. So they have to have money to sort of buy basic goods. And so they don't have legitimate means of making money. There's no agriculture, there's no industry, there's no trade.
No major exports.
There are no major exports and major imports. You know, there's no real education structure. There's no real social infrastructure, in terms of hospital, roads, seaports, airports, as we were talking about. So there's no real way of making gainful employment possible. So what happens when you can't earn money legitimately?
You can't work on.
You start making it illegal.
That's what you have.
You better come up with other means to make money.
Exactly.
We should make them a province of the United States. Wipe out their whole government and just take control.
But isn't that exactly what the terrorists don't want us to do? They don't want a U.S. takeover?
That gives us an excuse, right? They kill them all and we take over, get them people back in the country. Yeah, we already aid Africa. Why not help and aid that one country and make them better? Get all the privates out. Because I don't even want to take a cruise now because I'm afraid that we're going to have Somalians hopping on the road. I don't want to get on a plane anymore because Iraqis and Afghanians are blowing it up. Come on, we got to do something, man. We're the only country that's willing to help with no fear to them.
Yeah, we the only ones that get the most grief.
Ah, okay. So you think that the United States are taking over all these other failed states, countries that aren't working, like Somalia, maybe like Yemen. We've kind of already done it in Afghanistan. You think that's a good approach?
That's why we're in debt now. We're helping everyone else out, but no one wants to help the United States out.
Yeah.
So we aid
but you know what?
us.
I'm getting a little tired of our American troops, you know what I mean, going out there and risking their life to save that country, this country, that country. I mean, there's got to be a better way.
But we got to prevent genocide. We can't keep, if we don't help out, countries are going to start killing themselves, and then there's not going to be any more places like Somalia for me to visit, hopefully if it gets better in a couple of years. You know, we got to help, and we're the only ones that have really a good infrastructure on law and international law and stuff like that. We're the ones that have the strongest military, one of the strongest military. So without our help, the world will just come.
Well, you know,